Thank you, Madam Chair, Honorable Minister, Your Excellencies. I start with a cross-cutting existential challenge under the auspices of CEDAW's Article 14 and General Recommendation 37 and SDG 13, climate change. Just a few weeks ago, Your Excellencies, in Woodpecker et al. Versus South Korea, on April of this year, South Korea's Constitutional Court began historic hearings that called upon the state for the protection of dozens of young climate change activists. The plaintiffs argued that the state party must more effectively tackle climate change and protect the future generations' human rights, especially the young human rights activists, including children and a 17-month-old baby Woodpecker, the youngest plaintiff, who was a fetus at the time of the filing of this case in 2020. While there are other cases in progress elsewhere in Asia, this is the first case in Asia to have a public hearing involving children, a baby, and the next generation impacted by climate change. So that takes me to the Republic of Korea's UN Climate Change Conference in Dubai and the ways in which you backed an ambitious vision which called upon our land shared future towards balanced, smart, and innovative cities and regions for all. And the new plan put into priority several conditions, and I just picked three. One, building safe and livable places for all generations. Two, creating quality and eco-friendly spaces. And three, bringing peace to the national territory and connect the continent with the ocean, including both the SDG 16 and the SDG goal on the ocean. So what I would like to do now is, given the backdrop of what is unfolding in Korea before the Constitutional Court and your commitments before COP28, please provide us with the plan for engaging women and girls who are the most affected by climate change in Korea, and how you would mitigate climate change impact on rural women, how you would engage women, especially rural women, in climate change plans. That brings me to the important role of rural women under Article 14. Now, under Article 1192 of the Korean Constitution, you have a model provision which enshrines these statements. The state may regulate and coordinate economic affairs in order to maintain the balanced growth and stability of the national economy, to ensure proper distribution of income, to prevent the domination of the market and the abuse of economic power, and to democratize the national economy. This is, in fact, a model provision. I have not, in my study of comparative constitutions, come across a provision that calls for the democratizing of a national economy and the prevention of the domination of the market over people. So in other words, under this constitutional provision, how will the RoK create a redistribution of the economic resources in the pursuit of democratizing the economy? Especially, how will rural women, women migrant workers, women with disabilities benefit under this provision of the Constitution? You spoke, Your Excellency, on the important role of bilateral cooperation in trade relations. Are rural women in agriculture and in offshore fisheries, in aquaculture and inland fisheries, also part of this important bilateral cooperation and trade relations? You also spoke of the role of female founders and the role of the government in feminist financing, especially given the fact that female founders are the engine of growth in the RoK. But I would like us to bring a focus on rural women and rural women female founders. What are the benefits that you have for rural women female founders? South Korea's Labor Standards Act provides protection to all of the country's workers, citizens and foreigners alike. However, Article 63 of the Act does not include the agricultural industry. A sector, according to the IOM, is made up of over 70% migrant workers. Will you consider rectifying this gap? Last month, the government drafted the Special Act on improving the quality of life of farmers and fishermen, and promoting development of rural areas. Would you consider including fisherwomen as part of improving the quality of life of farmers and fisherwomen? And under Chapter 3, Article 18, include rural women. And how would you provide that assistance to rural women who include fisherwomen and farmers? As you know, Your Excellency, migrant workers experience poor working conditions and are subject to physical or sexual violence. What provisions, what plans of action are available for migrant workers in the rural areas? Your Excellencies, Honorable Minister, the Republic of Korea is a powerhouse in technology. How would you address and employ technology, especially assistive technologies for women with disabilities, under both the CRPD and the CEDAW's Article 14? Would the State Party consider new and improved protections for the elderly, using your resources and harnessing the power of technology to protect both the elderly and women with disabilities? Right now, the Supreme Court is hearing a case on insurance coverage for same-sex partners. The decision is pending. In this atmosphere of a pending decision, what steps would the Republic of Korea take to address the Supreme Court's positive decision regarding same-sex partners and insurance coverage? And finally, Your Excellencies, distinguished Minister, how has the State Party adopted gender-sensitive policies in women's detention centers in keeping with the Bangkok rules on women offenders and prisoners and the treatment of women prisoners under the Nelson Mandela rules? Thank you.